Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tamika. This is Library of Tomes, where I talk to you about all the bookish things going on in my life. So today I'm going to be doing a dark romance recommendation video, which I've not done in a little bit, but I just in the spirit of spooky season, I said let's do a dark romance recommendation video. I have focused a little bit more on taboo romances and just like darker tropes. So I just figured a good overall dark romance video would be a good one to do. If you all haven't seen, I do have dark romance merch, which I love because y'all know I love my dark romance, but this one literally says I like my books dark and spicy. If you want to buy one, link is in the description. So let's hop on into it. Here are my dark romance recommendations. So first up on my list is Vibe by Liza James. This is a dark sapphic romance. This one follows Aurora and Ruby. These two are really precious. I adore them a lot. So this one follows a cult. So Aurora has just came out of this cult. She's living a new life. She is with her boyfriend and her best friend, and they end up going to a strip club where she meets Ruby. And Ruby and Aurora have a very instant connection to one another, a very strong energy pulling them to each other, and they are just absolutely obsessed with one another very, very quickly. But because Aurora was raised in this cult where she was not allowed to express her feelings towards women, she is in absolute denial about it, and she is just refusing to accept that she has feelings for Ruby, and she ends up cheating on her boyfriend with Ruby. It's a whole situation going on between them. It's a really, really good story. I really enjoyed this one. I just love everything about this book. I will say it was a little drawn out, and it has a little bit of an unrealistic ending. Like, it felt like a little bit too much, but like overall the love story between them is absolutely adorable. I didn't really see all the plot twists coming, but I saw some of the things coming, so it was like really good. It has so much going on in here, and I do really recommend it. I loved this book. I love this couple. They're so stinking cute. So next up we have a reverse harem Snow White retelling, and this is 7 Sins of Snow. This was one I found on TikTok. This has blood all in it, all kinds of blood play because they are vampires. So this one is really hard to put down. Like, honestly, I read this one and I absolutely could not put it down at work. It was just so gripping and so addictive. I will say the last third of it does drag a little bit, but essentially what we have is a queen who's ruling over everything, who has like powers that are controlling the servants and the people in the community, in the kingdom, and our heroine is trying to not fall under the spell and like be a part of that, and her evil queen mother is trying to marry her off just to anyone because she's supposed to take over the kingdom. There are vampires, so we eventually figure out, you know, the reverse harem situation is with all 7 of those vampires. It is a lot of body parts and a lot of men. I will say I just get bored with that many partners, but I will say also very addicting. I did feel like most of the characters were really fleshed out, and most of them were pretty distinct from one another. I mean, for the most part, I definitely have vivid memories of specific characters. So yeah, if you're looking for a reverse harem, check this one out. So then we have Sorid by Nikki Sloan. This was a Taboo Book Club pick. This book was dark. This one is following our heroine who ends up going to a party, and she has a sexual assault happen to her at a party. It is described more as like debcon, but it is non-con. She's telling him no, and he's actually like just doing it anyway, and he really truly believes that she actually wants him, and she's just telling him no. So he takes her virginity, and she is like, I'm gonna tell everyone you raped me, and he ends up kidnapping her, taking her captive, and they have a debcon relationship where he's basically just like, I'm gonna force you to love me and force you to stay in the situation, or my father is gonna kill you. So that's the kind of situation that they're in. This one is a lot of debcon in here, and then there's also scenes where he's like actively abusing her, like shoving her underwater, things like that. If that's something that you can't handle a captive situation, I don't really recommend going into this one, but this is one where it is definitely darker, and it definitely has those dark undertones. So I'm gonna go with a very obvious one. Let's go with Priest by Sierra Simone. I don't know how y'all didn't think I was gonna talk about Priest. I love this book. This is more taboo than dark. but there are dark elements in here, so I'm going to count it. So priest is following a girl who goes into a confession booth, and our hero, who is a priest in the Catholic Church, and his sister has just passed away, so he's sworn his life to be a priest. This was one of our Taboo Book Club picks. I really loved this. So we really do explore the taboo side of religion and sexuality. The dark aspects are that the sister was being abused by people in the church, by the priests, and she ends up committing suicide. So there's a trigger warning for suicide in here. I want to go ahead and put that out there because I didn't know about that as I was going into it. But this one is another one that was just really fun, and it hits in the perfect ways. Like the taboo almost makes it dark in a way, but like those darker elements are definitely the ones of like the darker themes. This one does not have a ton of like really dark stuff in here. There's no like no like captive or anything. This is mostly just taboo. Like it is taking place in the church, in the confessional. There are so many sex scenes in this book that are absolutely make a religious person cringe, but it is so good. I really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure Sierra Simone is Catholic, so there was a lot of mention of like actual Catholic things. I'm not Catholic, so I couldn't tell you if they're accurate or not, but they seemed very accurate, and from my friends who are, you know, Catholic, they said it was accurate. So I do recommend this if you've not checked it out. It was so good. I enjoyed their relationship a lot. They were adorable. I love Father Bill. He was so great. So could I do a recommendation video where I didn't talk about Punk 57? Because hi, my name is Tamika. I love Punk 57. Punk 57 is a bully romance, which I love. I loved it. It was so good. So we essentially have two pen pals, Misha and Ryan, and they don't know who each other are. They end up getting swapped into being each other's pen pals because the teachers think they're the opposite gender when they're really young, and they continue this relationship and continue to be friends with one another. They end up not wanting to exchange like identities, like their pictures, and adding each other on social media and like meeting up in person because they don't want to ruin the image that they have seen of each other. So they want to kind of keep that personal so that they don't ruin it. Misha ends up meeting Ryan while at a party, and then he ends up going to her school, and she is not the person that he thought she was. So he ends up bullying her and just, you know, overall treating her like a second-class citizen, and they eventually develop a relationship and a actual romance. And then, you know, we have this underlying plot of like, what is Ryan gonna do when she figures out who Misha actually is, like who he is, and like why he's been lying to her. So there's a lot of dark stuff in here. Mostly it's the bullying. Mostly it is just absolutely cruel at times. He literally pulls her into his lap, licks her throat, and says that she tastes like shit. And I loved every minute of it. It was absolutely phenomenal. Could not recommend Punk 57 enough. I absolutely peak bully romance I've read so far. All right, then the last one I want to talk about is Misbehave by Charlie Rose. Again, this is one that falls a little bit more on the taboo side, but we're gonna go ahead and count it because it is a student teacher. The control of the relationship and the power dynamics make it a little more dark. We have Misbehave by Charlie Rose. This one in particular is one I really enjoy because this one follows like a 18-year-old girl who's getting kind of not necessarily abused at home, but she is definitely being taken advantage of at home by her older brother, her stepbrother. The family is kind of dysfunctional because the father's not really in the picture because he's on the road all the time, and we just in general have a kid who's like down on her luck. So we are starting the story off, and our heroine doesn't even have the money to like make sure her uniform is up to date, and she ends up developing a relationship with her professor who she definitely should not be with. This one is really fun, and the dynamics between them of her testing him and him punishing her really worked. Like them working off one another's dynamics of seeing how far she can get without, you know, actually getting in trouble. It really works, and I just flew through this romance. It was so good, and I just loved it. Okay, it was just really good. So those are all the dark romance recommendations that I have for you. If you have any more down in the comments, go ahead and leave them down there for me because I love dark romance. Y'all know this. I love them. I will read them 24/7. Specifically, if you have dark sapphic romances, please send them my way because I'm desperate. So if you're still here, leave me a rainbow emoji down in the comments, and I'll chat with y'all in the next one. Bye, everyone.